Welcome to another conversation in the FM Expert series. Today I'm joined by Andrew Hulbert, who is Vice Chair and Founder of Pareto FM. Andrew, you and I have wanted to do this quite some time, so thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. It's been a while, but we got there. It's good.
We got there at the end, we did. And Andrew is also Deputy Chair of IWFM. And what I didn't ask you when we were talking just before, how long do you think you've been in FM? How many years do you think if we add it up?
It's a good question. It's about 15 years now, which, I've always been considered the younger one in FM, but I feel like probably not so much anymore. 15 years plus, probably.
You've squeezed a lot into those 15 years.
Yeah, it certainly feels like that. The grey hair in my mid-30s certainly evidences that, no doubt.
And Andrew is going to share with us, well, we were talking about what to call it, but we're going to look at the sort of 3 pillars to personal success in FM. And you've got some really fab stuff to talk to us about. So I am going to hand you the stage, and I've got my pen and I'm going to make some notes. So over to you.
Okay, fantastic. So look, I think 3 pillars to personal success, mainly within facilities management, but I think this goes wider than that as well. So for me, success in your career is one thing, but we always have to be a little bit selfish about success for ourselves as well, because yes, we'll have great careers within organizations, but ultimately it's us that will continue to grow and develop through these different things. And these are just 3 areas that I think all of us should continue to work on, whether at the start of our career or the end, and anywhere in between. So really that's networking, that's people and finding your tribe, as the cool kids say today, and further education and furthering ourselves. So I think for me, networking, 100%. I cannot say it any more strongly. Put yourself out there, get out and build a network. And actually, you see some brilliant people these days building their network well beyond just attending events. So LinkedIn is a great tool for putting across your brand and what's important to you and what it is that you're trying to say. So I think for me, really important, what is it that you stand for? Why does that make you different to other people? What do you have passions and what makes you an expert in certain areas? Or what sort of social agenda do you drive and what's important to you? And how do you get that across? And how do you make sure that you are the one that's seen in that area? Now, networking isn't about going and trying to get 50 business cards and following them all up with sales leads afterwards. Networking is about meeting brilliant people, having a genuine conversation, genuinely being interested in what they have to say and conversing around that and making an impression on people. That's what networking means to me. It doesn't mean you come away with lots of sales leads. It means in the future, when someone might want something that you sell, they go, yeah, I remember chatting to Andrew. We had a great conversation about, I don't know, orca fishing or something in the sea or whatever. But it's something about how do you just make that connection with people? And also, I think that continues to go into your personal brand then. And there's a lot written around personal brand, but for me, it's just about what's important to you. What do you want to be known for? What do you stand for? And really then, how do you just take that out into your world of work? And I love the stage show Hamilton. And there's a scene in it where they say, what do you stand for, or what would you die for? And it's actually just making sure you understand what it is that's important to you. So I think for me, get yourself out there physically and on LinkedIn, create those connections and actually be bold and be something and be memorable. So that's the first thing, because the more people that know about you, the better.
Well, I love that, but I have questions.
Of course.
So be bold. I think that's the first thing. I think some people are worried about having a strong opinion, because particularly social media can have a lot of pushback and those sorts of things. So I think professionally, some people want to stay vanilla. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And I would challenge those people to say, okay, you could be middle of the road. That's cool for you. But if you really want to make something of yourself, you probably need to step outside that lane a little bit. Now, I'm not saying go and have dramatic political views on anything. I'm just saying find something that's important to you and be passionate about that maybe some other people don't wish to support as much as you do. So for me and for Pareto, LGBT plus rights, trans rights, that sort of stuff was always really important to me personally. And something I championed right from the beginning of my Pareto career, certainly, before it was cool, you know, from that perspective, and actually willing to take some risk to be associated with that. And people will know me for my rainbow laces and all that sort of stuff, but always something I've worn and been incredibly proud of and passionate about, because it's the right thing to do, and it's more important today than it was 10 years ago when I started.
Yeah, and I have a second question about the networking piece. So talk to the person listening to this who is in a comfortable job, is happy where they're working, doesn't see the point of putting themselves out there because they'll probably be here for another 5 or 10 years, and what's the point? What's the point to them of networking?
Good question. You never know when things are going to change, right? That's one of the things. And we can all get very comfortable in our jobs, and we can get comfortable with, we think we're going to be here 5, 10, 15 years. Maybe we'll even retire here. But actually, you know, COVID came out of nowhere, and these things can really just change the landscape completely. It's worth knowing people in a network. And also, you just never know when an opportunity may come along that someone you know knows about, that thinks you're the perfect person for that role. So in business, I get asked a lot about luck, like, you know, were you lucky in Pareto and that sort of stuff. You create your own luck. The more people you know, the more lucky you can become. And that's a really important factor. So, yeah, look, if you're comfortable where you are, great. But actually, go and meet some interesting people. And FM is full of interesting people. And I would point people to Pareto. We ran a scheme called More Than Just FM, where people, we photograph them within their passions and their hobbies. People do amazing things in facilities management outside of their day-to-day roles. So there's some great people to go and chat to at these events as well.
Yeah, love that. I think you sold that, to be honest.
Yeah. It worked for me. It worked for me, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. The second thing we were talking about before was your thing around finding people that you want to, and you and you kind of love working with. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think in FM, because of the larger FM providers, often people go through sort of a pretty vanilla route in terms of how they get into different jobs, and they go to a certain company for a certain time, then go somewhere else. I always want to find people that excite me and they're passionate like I am, and I can enjoy working with them beyond just the day-to-day of what we're doing. And those relationships become a bit more personal because actually we're in this together and we're trying to change the world. And often I think that's about hiring people that potentially wouldn't traditionally get into some of the standard jobs that are out there in FM, and helping them grow and watching them flourish. And I think that's a really important thing for me. We all have to go to work and we all work incredibly hard. If you can find people that you love spending time with and get that into their job as well, then I find that a really, really positive thing.
And isn't that, though, you've got two challenges there, haven't you? You've got the challenge from how do you get those people to apply in the first place when the job description doesn't look perhaps like anything they could do, and then when you're interviewing them, how do you get the person who's interviewing them to see beyond that, or to see enough of them to see that spark and that, you know?
How do you get them to apply? You need to go and find them. So going back to the networking piece, you know, these may be great people you meet in networking or you see on social media. It's also, look, men have no problem applying for jobs that they're no good for. Us men are particularly good at that. I think with women, it can be more of a challenge because often, you know, with the women that I've worked with in mentoring, they're really considerate around what the job description says and whether they're good enough for it. It's about making jobs accessible, but also it's about not making the process feel too much like a process. Some of the best people I hired, I took out for a burger at lunchtime, and, you know, they'd accepted a job by the afternoon. It wasn't that sort of formal process, and that really worked well for me. And then also, I think interviewing, I always just had a gut feeling with people. It was always, if I really like somebody, then I would make sure that they found a position within Pareto and within business. And actually, yes, I got it wrong sometimes because we all do, but some of the ones I got right have changed my life forever. And there's some relationships that I'll keep for the rest of my life. So I think for me, you need to make sure your recruitment process isn't too restrictive in terms of blocking that sort of thing. And I think that's why small businesses are brilliant for that, because they have much shorter recruitment windows. There's nothing wrong with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stage processes, but you may not get the absolute talent that's available today if you go down that process. And I'm sure from like a cultural perspective, that's all brilliant. But actually, for me, if there was a fire in my belly and I love that person, I was like, yes, let's go and do this together. And that worked well.
But I don't want to deviate too much onto recruitment because I could talk about this, but isn't it isn't it frustrating that so many job interview processes are about putting absolute fear into the person, so they're terrified? You get this kind of rabbit in the headlights, oh, I can't say anything wrong, and that's not what you want. I mean, make them feel relaxed. I love your take them out for a burger, you know, get the best of the person. That's what you want to see. You want to create that environment, don't you?
I don't think I ever had a formal sit down suit and tie interview in my 10 years of Pareto. It just wasn't what Pareto is about. And you don't get the best. I prefer to meet someone over dinner or on a night out or at a networking event where I'm just like, yeah, I love the cut of your jib, as they would say. I love it. And like, you know, let's see if we can work together. And maybe now's not the time, but maybe in the future when I've got a role that would fit really well. And that worked really well. And Pareto still has some incredible people based off of that fact.
Yeah. But your points 1 and 2 obviously completely linked to each other. And you know, if you think about networking is about connection, isn't it?
Yes.
Working with people is about connection. So you've got to do things that feed that connection so you can see it in the first place, haven't you? Love that. Now, your third thing when we spoke before was around further education.
Yeah, I think this is important for me. I was lucky enough to do my master's at UCL in facility, environment and sustainability. And it just gave me a level of confidence in terms of seniority that I didn't have prior to that master's. Firstly, I'd done a master's at one of the best academic institutions in the world, which was incredible for me, for someone who struggled academically at an earlier part of my life. So to be able to do it and get a distinction from it gave me, I was so proud of that part. And it made me feel very strategic. And I met some amazing people through that time as well. Now, I'm not saying we all need to run out and do a master's, but certainly continuing to educate ourselves in all sorts of different areas, whether that's facilities management or AI or social media and personal branding, whatever it is, we need to continue to develop. Because actually that degree I did, over 12 years ago now, it's not necessarily relevant to what I'm doing today. But the benefit is you meet amazing people, again, going back to networking and people meeting, but you meet people that are just really interesting. They have a similar challenge to you because they're trying to work and do a degree at the same time, which is a big challenge. I throw a family in there as well, and you've got an even more of a challenge on it. But I just think it's very easy just to get comfortable in what we do day to day. And we want to make sure that we can continue to grow as humans and put that into what we're doing and what we're working with. And there's a brilliant networking aspect to that as well.
Love that. And I mean, like you say, it's not everyone's route, is it? It's not everyone's journey. And I think, you know, one of the things certainly that I always say to people is there are so many free ways of learning and growing, whether it's a TED talk, you know, whether it's something on YouTube, whether it's Open Learn and the free Open University training courses. It's about having the hunger, isn't it? For improvement. And
it is, absolutely. It is about being hungry, and it's about being, I always wanted to know more. I could very rarely accept things on face value, which is part of my own insecurities, but I always wanted to just learn about things more. And I wanted to be able to talk to people in an intelligent way about subjects, to be able to research it. And even like, what radio station do you listen to? And instead of doom scrolling on Instagram at night, just, you know, listen to something that's interesting. If you go for a walk, put a podcast in. It's all that sort of stuff, which it's easy if you choose to do those things. I'd much prefer to listen to Radio 1 and all of the stuff on there, but you can still continue to grow even when you're learning on other people's time. And I think that's powerful as well.
Your 3 pillars are fabulous, and I think people will find that incredibly useful. Is there one little final kind of Andrew Hulbert golden nugget that you could share with, you know, you 17 years ago, whatever it was, thinking, oh, this is a big, bold career I want to get involved in? What do you wish somebody had told you then?
I think for me, at the start of my career, I wish somebody really showed what was possible in facilities management. And actually, if you seek it and you work hard and you're incredibly driven and enthusiastic about it, I think this sector, you can grow in any way that you wish to. The world is your oyster in FM. And that's why I love this sector so much more than other sectors that people traditionally go into, because it's not structured. There aren't graduate schemes. There aren't brilliant ways that you go through it. But that's what makes it beautiful and creative, and that you can get to certain levels by certain points. And there's something really powerful about that. That unless you're in FM, you don't know that that's the case. And that's what's beautiful for this.
Yeah, it is. It literally is a world of opportunities, isn't it?
It is, and it's what you make of it, I think. And like, it's just such a vast sector that
Yeah.
the last time I saw from a commercial perspective, they estimate the sector's 120 billion pounds per year. It's one of the biggest
Wow.
sectors in the world. So actually, like, the world is your oyster in terms of trying to
Mm,
find incredible routes to go through.
mm,
And if you don't love energy, and then you can go into something else
mm,
within
mm,
facility and property and real estate,
mm,
and there are just so many different
mm,
areas that you can explore. That is
mm.
brilliant from that perspective.
Well, I knew this would be a good conversation, and your enthusiasm for the sector, your energy, I mean, it really is contagious, and it's been uh, fabulous spending time with you, and I'm sure people will find this really useful. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure. And I love FM, and I always will do. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right.